It's the April 21st Lansing City Council meeting. The council hears comments in support of housing densification zoning amendments. They repeal the no restroom use for the opposite sex ordinance, and some departmental budget updates lead to swooning. Hello, and welcome to What Lansing Council, a podcast transforming Monday night's Lansing City Council meetings into an enthralling recap. This is your host, Jill Dombrowski, and today my very special guest is Metro Melik.
Hi.
Hi.
I very much appreciate the title of your show, written as a question but said as a statement.
Yes.
I have a lot of respect for that.
Thanks. I get a lot of questions about the title, and I'm sticking with
perfect.
it.
I love that.
Thank you. Metro Melik is a radio DJ for Stax 92.1. He has been working in the Lansing media landscape since the 90s, producing shows for public access. He's an entrepreneur, founding Lansing Made and Me to You photography and videography services. He is the relationship manager for the Women's Center of Greater Lansing, and he was appointed to the Lansing Public Media Authority at the council meeting last night. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for finding me.
Yes. I love your show on Stax 92.1. We listen to it in the car with my kid, and she has like her own Spotify playlist, and after every song, she's like, I want this on my playlist.
Oh, how old is your kid?
She's 8.
Oh, that's so cool. You're bringing history through. Time is a weird thing because we're in this space, and then we're bringing up young people, but then the music was
back
before,
in the day.
And it's way before them, but they're moving it forward. Isn't it weird time how that's a continuum?
Yes, it is weird.
Yeah.
And we were both at the meeting last night, and now we're here.
Yes.
Whoa. And whoever's listening to this is in the future. Dun-dun-dun-dun. What's your take on Lansing? Describe Lansing for us.
Grit, opportunity, accessibility, beautiful assets, underutilized assets, a place where you can find yourself and it's forgiving, a place where I wish people would realize they could reach their goals in an accessible, affordable way, and that you don't have to go anywhere else to achieve most any goal, and the limitation would be something as specific as marine biology.
I was going to say surfing.
Well, those are the things.
Yeah.
If you want to study an ocean,
yeah,
you have a small experiment thing less than 2 hours away in east or west.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when I talk about opportunities of Lansing, I've been thinking about, would you say I had a TV show since the 90s or way back then? Like, I've been saying this since then, and that's why I haven't left. Because of Lansing, I was able to achieve my second greater self goals of being a performer, of being an entertainer, and the things that I learned in Lansing, I would realize in my 30s, I had already achieved my goal. I'm on bonus life right now.
Way to go, guy.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say that not to brag.
No,
I say that not to boast. I say that to encourage others.
Other people can do it too.
That you can be here. And then the other thing that I've learned is that people leave here expecting more, but sometimes more means more bull jive. More expense, more competition, more difficulties getting past the barriers.
Yeah.
And most that have this expectation of more return. And I'm not knocking them as a person.
Sure.
But unless you're from the jungle, you don't know how the jungle works. So Lansing, grit, possibilities. And I say grit because I love it. We a big, small town. And it's a little grimy, but that gives you a different energy.
What would you like to see changed in Lansing?
That bull jive bad attitude. Knock it off. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Quit with the bad attitude. every place, everything has a negative side to it. There's a pro to con to everything. I don't care what it is. There's a positive, there's a negative to it. And stop ripping on Lansing so bad. Like, if I had a party on Friday and I spent the last 6 months talking about how messy and dirty and filthy my house is, and then all of a sudden today I go, when you want to come over to my place and go to a party, how many yes votes am I going to get on that? None.
Yeah.
So if you want things to come and you want things to be good and you want to do things, it's a work in progress. This isn't a bragging thing either, but it's like, we got to do the work.
Yeah.
And if somebody were to ask me one-on-one, if I'm putting my money where my mouth is, I purposely live here.
Yeah.
I purposely have a Lansing address. Our children are in Lansing School District. That paradigm shift, that it's all, Look, I had a meeting with my state rep 3 blocks from here, ran here, and you're producing a podcast. So you're going to the council meeting. So you care enough to bring it all back in line and let people know what's going on in our community so you don't have to watch those 3-hour meetings.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Share with your friends.
Right. Share this. Tell them where to find it. Or they're already here.
It's on the Spotify.
Yeah, it's on the Spotify.
It's on YouTube.
So
it's on Apple. It's on Amazon.
Click the link and share it to all your friends.
Thank you.
All right.
Great. So at this meeting last night, the April 21st meeting, you were appointed to the Lansing Public Media Authority. What is that? As
I know it, it oversees basically the media of Lansing.
Okay.
Do you people... All right. The reason why public access came into play, even though it's quote-unquote antiquated, what people had a concern about was that information was going to be coming from other places, and they felt that the local municipalities would lose their conduit to the information that's local by having stuff piped in from all over the place.
Yeah.
So the cable system was put in place, and it said that you had to have access to local content, public access channel. So Channel 16 on Comcast was the public access channel where local people can put out the content and information to augment the stuff that was being piped in from all over the country.
And Channel 16 had to do that, or they were like, we will do this because
it was
we're
put
nice.
into law.
Oh, okay.
If you were going to have your services here, you have to allow.
Nice.
I don't know if it's law or whatever, but basically you had to do it.
Okay.
You had to allow. So for me, the reason why I started a show is I was watching the news and I'm like, yeah, but you're not talking about this. You're not talking about that. And you only get it 30 minutes, which is only 20 minutes because you got all the weather and the commercials. Yeah. So then this, that, and the other. That's not enough time. So in my mind, let's talk about the cool stuff.
Right.
Let's talk about the events, the people, places, and events that are in this space and bring up the positive. So that's what I started way back last century. Yeah. And so...
oh, dear.
Deep in the last century. That's the board. So this board oversees content, and then we have the addition because the Lansing Public Media Center is going to be placed into the Ovation, which is going to be another entertainment center that is going to have a local connection as well as bringing in, you see what we're paralleling again? Yeah. You're going to be bringing in content. Yeah. You're going to be bringing in information while uplifting local content to be able to be in the exact same space as what others are coming into.
Get some synergy. Some working together.
Right.
Collaboration.
And it's expanding what's already been established all these decades later.
All right. What a vision.
Isn't that amazing?
This is great. Lansing.
So the board is overseeing the construction of the Ovation.
Got it. Okay. Good.
Brought to you by Michigan State University Federal Credit Union.
Yes, thank you, MSU FCU. You're really helping us out. getting back to the April 21st meetings, at the meeting, all council members were present. We have Ryan Cost, our president from the 1st Ward, Jeremy Garza of the 2nd Ward, Adam Hussein of the 3rd Ward, and Brian T. Jackson of the 4th Ward. Our current at-large members are Jeffrey Brown, Tamara Carter, vice president, Trini Pelivanoglu, and Peter Spatafor. While you were up there talking to them, so the way that the council is set up is there's the council folks are all in a lined up in a semicircle, and then there's a space for other folks to come up and speak, and then there's a space for the public commenters to come up, and then there's the audience. The Public Media Center films all of the meetings, what's going on, and so they're doing a great job of doing different shots of who's speaking. So while whoever is speaking is talking, their picture is up on these 4 huge monitors around the room.
Oh.
And your kids were there, and they're seeing you.
Yeah.
And one of them shouts out, "Dad, I see you."
Oh, that's what happened in the city council of the whole meeting.
Yes, because they could see you on the TVs. And you were kind of like, "Shush, I'm in a meeting."
I didn't realize because I couldn't hear.
Yes,
okay.
But it was really
That's
cute.
funny.
Yeah, they did shush. But they were very well behaved. And the council was very pleased with your presentation, and they confirmed you to be on the authority.
So that was at the City of the Whole, and I had never been at the City of the Whole meeting. And
right.
It was, no disrespect to Ryan. I adore Ryan. We've had a lot of conversations, positive, negative, and what needs to be done type of things.
Great.
And he goes, "Tell me, Malik, you're being up for this.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about yourself and your history."
Yeah.
And I looked at him, and my response was,
"How long you got?"
"Dude, I'm 56 years old. Where do you want me to begin?" Right. And his smartness, he goes, "Not at the beginning." Touche, Ryan. Touche.
He's on it. Yeah. So after you, we had another board confirmation, and that was Linda Sanchez Gazela. And she was to the Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees. And I think she's been a longtime city employee and volunteer, and she was giving everybody big hugs in the audience. Then there were budget presentations by 5 departments: the City Clerk's Office, Mayor's Office, Lansing Economic Development Corporation, the Fire Department, and the Parks Department. So Council has sent the department heads a list of questions for them to answer regarding their budget. Like, what's your staff turnover from the past year? Do you rely on federal grant money? Are you purchasing big new equipment this year? Who are your biggest vendors? How's it going with the 311 phone service? Yeah. Have you called in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It didn't work.
Oh, no.
I called in to report a pothole, and I had to use the 483-4161 number, I think it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I tried 311. It didn't work.
Oh.
So that's a question. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
What was the answer? Is it working?
Well, some people say yes, and some people say It sounds like they're slowly bringing it online for different departments.
Okay.
So like the 311 folks have to be trained for all the different departments.
Got it.
To cover some of the basic ones. So they're still working out the kinks.
Work in progress.
That's right. The clerk's office was first. The clerk, Chris Swope, was there talking about how there's been some increased demand for passport services. Mm-hmm. So they've had to open some additional hours for that. And looking ahead to 2027, they are going to need to replace all of their election equipment. So that'll be about $1 million.
Whoa.
They're hoping to get the state to pay for most of that, but that's kind of touch and go. So they're not sure. Councilmembers Cost, Jackson, and Brown had some questions about parking, the parking line item. They had $13,000 for 5 employees. That seemed like a lot of money. The mayor's office was next, and Councilmember Jackson wonders why Chief of Staff Mark Lawrence was giving the presentation instead of the mayor or the Chief Administrative Officer. Lawrence said, "Well, I'm the Chief of Staff, so I'm doing it." Cost said, "How many staff are there?" Lawrence said, "Oh, I gotta think about it. Maybe 8 or 10.
This is the Chief of Staff answer?
Cost was like, "Why is your parking budget $11,000 for 8 or 10 when the clerk's is $13,000 for 5? The Chief Strategy Officer, Jake Brower, says, "It depends on which ramp they're using. We'll get back to you on that." All the parking is just getting paid back to the city because they're city parking ramps. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a what's going on.
I try
with
not
that.
to talk about parking, but in short, I'll say parking begets parking, and I feel like there should be a better way to do that. Meaning, people think parking funds stuff for the city. From what I understand it, that is not the case in any way, shape, or form. Parking only begets parking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pocket that's within it, and it's by itself, and it's in a deficit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of these city things, which you would think that people are paying for, like trash, like that's also in a deficit. Like the golf course, like a lot of the stuff that we pay for, it's still not paying for itself. So it's really tricky.
Well, we got to recognize that it's not paying for anything else.
Yes.
Because people get mad, why am I paying for parking? Because it's going to just go into some extra stuff that no, it's not.
No.
It's not going to anything. As a matter of fact, it's costing us money.
Yes. Yep. You got it. Spreading the word on that. Next, we had Lansing Economic Development Corporation President Carl Dorschimer and Vice President Chris Klein, both Carl and Chris spelled with K's. This department, I think the council is still a little murky on what they do because there are a lot of questions to that effect, like how much of your budget is really from the city, but they also partner with the state and they're working with these big development entities. And they basically are shepherding big development projects through various hoops of local and state permitting. And they also work with small businesses in Lansing. And they've also just been through a rebranding. They said they are somewhat reliant on EPA, Environmental Protection Authority money, and the American Rescue Plan Act, that's ARPA money from the Corona fallout. But they say that these grant monies are not essential to their operations.
Corona fund or
Yes, the ARPA money, it was like the American Rescue Plan Act. So still money is being doled out from that. The fire department was next. They currently only have 5 ambulances, but 80% of their calls are health related. So they need some more ambulances. They're hoping to get 2 more with approval from the state, and they're waiting for the state to just tell them that's the go-ahead. Another thing going on is they have a new program to check the proper installation of child car seats. It's not really a money maker or an efficiency gain, but they think it's going to be helpful for folks to have their car seats properly installed.
I hate to speak on this. I've seen some absolutely horrible things happening going down the road, and I'll just say in short, there's too many people riding around with children in the car without a car seat at all whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're working on it. Garza and Hussein were all over it. They're doing some grandstanding. We need double the ambulances we currently have to be at the standards of those around us, like Delhi Township and East Lansing. And we're doing services to DeWitt because they don't have their own ambulances. What's up with that?
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Lansing Services DeWitt for their ambulance services?
That's what they're talking about. The chief is very patient, and he has a wonderful, deep voice. He was a pleasure to hear. He says, yes, Lansing...
Were you swooning?
A little bit.
What just happened?
It does get a little rough, these meetings. So somebody who's well-spoken is like, okay. I'm listening. I'm listening to you. Lansing is leaned on by some of the surrounding areas. We're kind of the big brother to them. There was some talk a while back of having a metro fire department, but then there would only be one chief, and the little area chiefs didn't like that, so that's not happening.
That is wholeheartedly self-centered and frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I said it.
Yeah,
I'll say it again.
Yeah, they've written, him and some of the other chiefs have had this problem with DeWitt for a while, and they've written a strongly worded letter to the DeWitt chief, so they're waiting to hear back on that.
We'll see how that goes.
Yes. He's talking about how they don't have all the folks that they would like, but they're trying to be more data-driven, documenting the areas of risk in order to take measured and balanced approaches with the resources they have. So it's nice to hear a little bit more about like a systematic approach. He's like, I'm on board with the computers. Councilmember Hussein's kind of railroading the budget conversation. He wants an update on how many of the cadets going through the firefighter training program are from the Lansing Public Schools. And the chief is like, well, regretfully, 0. They didn't pass the written test. It's something we're working on.
That is shameful.
I know. Councilmember Hussein says, what are we going to do with the thousands of new folks coming into these new Vision Lansing properties? There's all these developments planned for the next couple of years. It's going to be tons more calls from that. The chief says, yeah, at other places I've worked at, when there's been these big developments, the developers would give the fire departments some extra resources, like they'll just buy some more fire trucks and whatnot. I haven't seen that happening here, so.
How much is a fire truck? Isn't that $1 million?
Yeah, I don't know. Next up is the Parks Board. We've got Parks Board head Brett Kaczynski. Spadafore says, how's it going with hiring for seasonal staff? And Kaczynski says, good. We've got all our lifeguards lined up for the Hunter Park pool this year, and we're looking forward to opening Moores Park pool next year. Councilmember Adam Hussein says, with the mowing contract, sometimes they're doing a crappy job. Can we bring mowing back in-house? And Kaczynski says, I don't really recommend doing that at this time. We want to keep that contracted out. Councilmember Cost says, how about the stump grinding? I don't like seeing a bunch of city trees cut down and then the stumps are all left behind. Can we do something about that? Kaczynski says, well, we have budget constraints. We can't get to that. Garza says, thanks for always taking my calls. You are the most responsive department head. He had a few more questions about the mowing and the staff vacancies. What do you think of the parks? Parks opinions?
I very much appreciate that Lansing has 111 parks. That includes the
cemeteries.
Mm-hmm. I very much appreciate that we have these spaces where I can take my kids and feel safe, and that it's a great amenity to the city of Lansing. Now, does a city this side, need 111 parks? Some of these parks are literally plots of grass. Yeah, I'm thankful for them.
And cemeteries are another one of those things where we're charging services for, but we're not charging enough to fully recoup the costs. And the department head did say there's less and less burials every year, like people are doing cremation, so the cost to maintain the cemeteries is just going to go up for us. One more budget policy discussion. Councilmember Jackson said he'd like to see another full-time staff for sustainability initiatives, somebody who can apply for grants and run programs. And they were like, okay. That was it for the committee of the whole. They were only 10 minutes over, so that was great to see. The meeting ended at 7:10. For best dressed, I always give best dressed for the meetings. My best dress goes to the fire chief.
In uniform?
In his uniform. He had this nice monogram.
That's not fair.
Sorry. He was really wearing this uniform.
Oh, I mean,
puffy,
were you swooning?
Yes.
I see you.
He had his monogram, puffy black jacket with the patches. He had his slick black watch and some black
who
glasses.
was the person with the voice?
Him, that guy.
Oh, so the uniform and the voice.
Yes.
Okay. Look at you. You're at city council meetings getting information and swooning. I see how you is. Okay.
You got to keep it interesting. The regular meeting began. Speaking of best dressed, Churchill Downs neighborhood will be holding a Derby Day, the same day as the real Churchill Downs races, Derby in Kentucky. That's Saturday, May 3rd, and there will be an award for the best hat. So we'll see what the fire chief wears to that. Next, there was a public hearing on changes to the form-based zoning to allow for boarding houses, auxiliary dwelling units, that's ADUs / mother-in-law suites, co-ops, and cottage developments. So incremental densification, added housing.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Especially taking care of our aged as I'm aging.
One of the big supporters for this has been the AARP.
And tiny houses, the fact that we as a city not allowing tiny houses is frustrating. So hopefully that'll help change that. Yeah,
there were 3 write-in comments in support. And then Joan Nelson, who we've had on the podcast before, she spoke out on this, and many folks in the audience stood to show their support. And she carefully detailed some of the pushback that I think has come from council and others, that the code / building department would be overwhelmed. She said, this is unlikely. This will be a gentle densification.
We need housing.
Yeah.
So overwhelmed or not, and if people are taking care of your people, well, let me regroup. Joan Nelson is awesome. She's a beautiful human being, and Lansing's lucky to have her.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Julie Vandenboom running for council. She said, yes, in my backyard. And 4 other speakers were there in support. And one was saying, we're already seeing a lot of this in legally non-conforming ways. So it would be nice for people to be in compliance. And most of Lansing was built in this way until the zoning was changed in the 60s. There's more than one way to live. Yep. Yep. There's more than one way to live. Let's allow people to live in different ways.
That's not racist.
Mm-hmm. And let's not be placing big immediate strain on our infrastructure like that will happen with some of these developments that are upcoming. Next, 4 red tagged buildings were given the 60 days to make safe or be demolished. Councilmember Jackson was the only one voting no against 2 of the 4. And then they approved $1,000 funding for some Pride celebrations, and that will come out of the city community promotion account. Next, there were 11 traffic control orders. These are changes to specific traffic things happening at intersections or blocks, like allowing parking or taking parking away. Some of these were initiated by neighbors. You need 50% of the folks living on a block to sign a petition to see a change like this. And some are from the police wanting clarification on areas where it wasn't clear if parking was allowed or not. And some are for construction companies wanting to store stuff in parking spaces during the construction. These all went through, no problem. Then there was a discussion on special noise permits for construction companies to work on Saturdays. So council doesn't want it to be a guarantee that they will grant these permits. And I think it's been the rule for construction companies to just write in 6 days of work into their schedule, assuming that this will go through. But they've heard from a lot of constituents saying, we're over it with all this noise. We don't love this. So for this specific one, they did grant it because it wasn't a commercial zone, like it wasn't in a residential zone. That was one of their reasons. And it was already over budget and over blah, blah, blah. And President Costa was the one dissenting vote here. He says he pities anyone having to hear the beep, beep, beeping at 7 a.m. on the weekends.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it, but I'm also trying to relax in my space.
Then they did repeal a 1986 ordinance criminalizing the use of restrooms intended for the opposite sex. This has been with the council for a few meetings now.
Wait, it was against the law if I were going to a woman's bathroom?
Against the law.
So even if it's just a one person, I can lock the door. That's against the law. That was against the law.
That was against the law in Lansing. Yep. That law was never enforced, or no one was ever punished with but it has been a law since 1986.
Our bathroom use in the United States of America is some of the most nonsensical stuff.
Yeah. So that's over. It was unanimously repealed by council, effective immediately.
Well, thank God I'm not breaking the law in Lansing anymore. Allegedly.
No comment. There were a few more public comments. One person was upset about the increases to the city service fees. 2 folks said, thank you for the bathroom repeal. One person was upset about all the red tag properties. We should be dealing with these more quickly. And they'd like to see the charter amended to have more wards and more council members.
What would that help?
Yeah. The charter, about the charter commission? The charter was opened, and that's been something I haven't been following this super closely, but I think they are considering, so it's currently 4 wards, and then 4 at-large members. So we have 8 council members, so it's an even council. Mm-hmm. And what the charter members have come up with is 5 wards and 2 at-large members, so we'd be down to 7 councilors, but more ward-based representation overall. It's kind of academic, I think, but also, it makes a difference who's representing you and where they're coming from. Any thoughts? Any knee-jerk reactions?
I guess I would need that explained to me more in depth on the benefit.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just ignorant of that one.
It's hard to know. So, do you know anyone who lives in Lansing and listens to podcasts? Consider sharing this show with them. The next meeting will be in 2 weeks on May 5th with special guest Virginia Chambers, who works for the City Communications Department. What's upcoming with you? Anything you want to give a shout out, a plug to?
517 Day, May 17th on Saturday, and then the rappelling down Bogey Tower.
You?
I don't know if I'm doing that or not, but people have an opportunity to do that depending on when they can sign up and raise funds to be able to do that.
Oh, cool.
I think if you get those details at lansingwomen.org, women is plural, Lansing, WOMEN.org, and then you can find out about 517 Day at 517day.com.
Great.
This is a great service that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's good
I'm
content.
trying to do something. So
And this whole swooning thing, that's cracking me up. What's your partner think about
I
all
gotta
that?
get that guy on the podcast. He doesn't know.
He knows now.
He wasn't there.
He knows now.
What happens in council stays in council.
Don't listen to the Malik episode. If you're going to listen, try to skip past that one.
Thank you, Metro Melik, for being my very special guest. And thank you, Public Media Center, for letting us record with you. Thanks for listening. This is why it can't be video, because look at all my blushing.
You are.
I know.
Swoon.